There you go.
Yeah.
All right. T-14, we're going to be reviewing custom configurations. Not all computers obviously fit right for every given situation. You can't get Mickey Bing for everyone, which means the top dog gaming computer for somebody who's just going to do a medial task. Small computers that are ideal for portability, web browsing, would fail miserably when it comes to mathematical modeling, complex systems, and or video graphics that you may be editing.
Diego.
Thank you. Thank you once again. That's an A for a TA.
I was just going to say it, but I didn't want to interrupt.
No, you got
Extra points for rudeness.
it. It's wonderful. Only in America. All right. So, where was I? This session will introduce obviously custom configurations, and we need to become.
We can't hear you.
Still can't hear you, Diego. Nope.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now.
All right. Beautiful. So by the end of this session, we're going to be able to describe the different custom configurations to meet common clients' needs, describe the features and characteristics from different custom configurations, and hopefully in any given scenario to be able to select the appropriate PC that the person needs. We need to be able to identify the following hardware requirements and software that need to be configured to meet these client needs, be that the actual CPU, the video cards, the maximum RAM that they need, the specialized audio, specialized drives, NIC cards. You do realize there is different types of NIC cards. That was network interface cards for those that haven't read the chapter of network yet. There is enhanced coolings, special chassis, TV tuners that are available to us, application specifications, and a plethora of different things. We need to be able to distinguish between thick and thin clients. Anyone knows the difference between a thick and a thin client?
I know that thin client is basically bare minimum of things.
Okay, I would have to take that. And a thick client would have to be the one that's with everything, right? At least that makes sense. But we'll get into the details of the actual definitions. We have workstations, media stations. We have specialized consumer PCs depending on their actual specifications. Just a side note, inside the textbook itself, it is pages 205 through to 28. Now, overall, we need to be able to communicate with our customer and effectively have a growth mindset because there is a plethora of different types of computers out there. And as we said, there is even the one that the customer themselves decide exactly what they want. In these specialized routes that we have the requirements of the workstations, your media workstations, and as we said, specialized PCs. IT professionals should know how to build these according to the actual needs. A thick client is a PC that has all of the capabilities that a normal PC should have. It runs a modern operating system, be that it is maybe for Windows or be, I don't know, they always have either some animal name or something. I don't know what letter they're in right now, but Apple has their own operating system themselves, right? The Mac OS, but it's with Mojave or God only knows now. The thick client itself is the core hardware of the OS is everything's in here. It also usually has a plethora of things in there, depending what the needs of the customer is when it comes to applications. A thin client is a system that's designed to be able to outsource the actual thing. You can always think about this as the orange terminals back in the day. Anybody remember the orange terminals that just has orange letters only with a black background? You could always think of thin client being equivalent to those terminals. Why? because of the fact that, yes, it may have components there that do create a computer per se, but in most cases, this itself, it only runs resource usually out of the server. So in a lot of the cases, even the operating system itself may be just sufficient to connect to the server, and everything really runs off of the server because it has no hard drive to save the information, and its only thing is used for is just to be able to connect to that server. Like I said, dumb terminals. Thin client is equivalent to the old dumb terminals. Why are they dumb? Because they know absolutely nothing. Only the server knows something. You only connect. You are a actual branch off of me. Just remember that. So a thin client, although it may look like a computer that has everything, it does not. It does not usually have a hard drive in there with a full OS to be able to get you everything. Virtualization is another one that's out there. Virtualization enables you to run more than one OS on a given computer. Usually that happens a lot in the server environment where the virtualization is hosted on what they call the VM. In this case, if you are yourself, if it's not the machine, right? If it is you, you are either one that basically yourself, you boot up, which is a type 1, boot up yourself as a virtual machine server, which gives all the different types, or you could be type 2. You come up as a Windows server, and now you host virtual machines. Those are the two types that are available out there. All hardware resources from the PC are shared between the actual multiple virtual PCs and the actual host PC. Host is the guy that's hosting you. It is saved on obviously on hardware costs. Now no longer do I have to buy 500 different computers. This is very also helpful for testing environments. I can actually test out the latest software without actually going and purchasing another computer. I could just use my computer if I was a programmer. But all I have to do is just create a virtual machine on my PC. Virtualization requirements, though, for performance overall, a lot of RAM. Why? Because just like on your computer, you require so much RAM to run an operating system. That will happen to that computer. That computer in the virtual environment needs so much RAM because the operating system states that that's the minimum. So the more cores you have to be able to have the capability to have multiple um, processes at the time, obviously, the better it is. Cores, we learned, is what? Multiple cores.
Multiple chips on a processor.
That is correct. So it's not a hyper threading chip. We're talking about a chip that has multiple cores, not just hyper threading. All right. Any questions, doubts? All right. Keep on going. Graphics workstation itself. This is obviously for the designers. It falls under compute CAD. AutoCAD itself is the ones that go and they make these illustrious designs, be for the cars, be for a building, schematics of a facility, and or electronics. These puppies have everything, including AutoCAD or Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop. Requirements of this to be able to do their drawings and their processing. So this is a graphics workstation itself. The graphic PC requirements usually require the SSD drive, maximum RAM that the OS can run on if preferred. Check obviously the parameters of each graphic software because some software will not run unless you meet certain requirement. High-end video cards with its own memory is required for these things because as we see, these people are dealing with a lot of uh, high-end graphics. This is detailed. This guy, if he goes in there and he zooms into this picture of, I don't know, get me if I'm wrong, that looks like to be some type of Xbox controller or who knows what type of controller. So just feel me out. Most likely this is the external, but let's say you're going in there, you can actually go inside and you'll be able to see all the components and everything that has to deal with this thing. So therefore, these graphic cards have to have the capabilities and the intricacies to give you the exact detail of what's in there. It can't just be 256. Okay, I mean 256 colors. Okay. Auditing and editing computers. These obviously deal with the detail of high-end audio and video. So not only do I need just a good quality picture, now I need good quality audio too. On top of that, we should have the capabilities to have audio in, right? And your microphones and any other MIDI devices that you may be able to connect to. Your video editing workstations. This one obviously is much more complex than just your audio one. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. This one is in reference to audio only, and this is the video editing one. Do apologize, I kind of misspoke there. In reference to this one, obviously you are going to be requiring a lot of video, a lot of processing. So just like the first guy with the AutoCAD and just like the guy with the audio, now you need everything. You need both with everything that they need for the high-end video, and you need all the high-end audio. And look at our friend Raid. So those are the trick questions that they're going to throw you. The video editing workstations would require, if you can, right? This is what a video editing workstation is. We have to be in reality of what the customer can do, but if they ask us, this is the requirement that they will, if they need good performance. Why would I need RAID?
To back
You
to
can't
prevent.
afford
You
to
lose
back
information,
everything up.
or if
Yeah.
it crashes.
In the middle of editing? Okay. For what type of RAID would you recommend, depending what they're doing here? What are you talking about? RAID 0?
10,
1-0.
10, yeah.
Mirroring and striping.
Stripping, striping.
Okay. Okay.
So
Everybody
maybe
agree on that?
rate 5.
Or at
Ooh,
least
RAID
grade 1.
5.
Something with parity.
Ooh, RAID 1. That would be mirroring. So now we threw all of them in there at least, right? So let's see at RAID 0. Does RAID 0 give me anything?
No.
Gives you speed,
It gives
but it
speed.
doesn't allow you
For the
to
video, it's good.
Okay. Now,
mirror or
would you would you agree that for editing I need speed? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah.
do
But
I
that's not
need
it. That's
do I
not as
need-
important as backup. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, correct. Do I need backup?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we know I need 2. Does RAID 0 give me speed and backup?
No.
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 Okay. Okay. Then our second one was RAID 1. Does RAID 1 give me speed?
No.
No.
Does it give me backup?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So it only gives me 1. Do I choose this one?
No.
No.
Okay. So now I'm not choosing 0. I'm not choosing 1. All right. Let's go then. Somebody spit it out. I think it was 10. Does it give me speed?
Yes.
Yes.
Does it give me backup?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Does 0 plus 1, does that give me speed? Does it give me backup? Okay.
That is fine.
Okay. Now, RAID 5. Somebody said RAID 5. Does RAID 5 give me speed?
Yes.
Yes.
Does it give me backup?
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Out of RAID 5, 0 plus 1, and RAID 10, which one's the fastest?
10.
5.
I think 5.
Okay, we got 2 votes for 5, 1 vote for 10. Anybody else want to chime in?
10.
Okay. We got another
Strictly
vote for
like
10.
the fastest?
Yeah,
Five
we
would-
think about it logically. Which one do you think is faster out of all of those? Yeah.
Which were the options again? 0.
RAID. So far, we've decided to get rid of 0, get rid of just RAID 1. We're trying to choose between RAID 5, RAID 10, and RAID 0 plus 1. Out of the 3, we want to decide which one is the fastest.
Maybe
Uh,
I
0
think
plus
10
1
might be
because
faster
striping
because
Oh,
is
5 has
the
parity.
0's the fastest.
Agreed. 0 is the fastest. I would have to agree. But
But we're
does it
not
give me
doing-
backup? We said it doesn't give us backup. So RAID 0 is
Right.
gone.
Okay.
So
That
0
was
plus
completely
1?
gone. And
So 10.
10.
so, okay, so we got 10 and we got votes for 10 and 0 plus 1. We had 2 votes for 5. Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, RAID 1-0.
Okay. We have it looks like a lot of people leading to RAID 1 plus 0. Now, can somebody who told me RAID 5 tell me why were you choosing RAID 5?
Because I think that it might be faster to have just the parity bit side, and it's taking less drives because it's
Ding, 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 ding. Let's put 4 drives side by side. I'm going to go ahead and make myself my 10 and I'll order my 0 plus 1. Would you agree that if I make a 10 or a 0 plus 1, technically they're identical in speed because of the fact that I am going to stripe and I'm going to make an identical copy be inside or outside RAID of this because 1 plus 0 and 0 plus 1 does the RAID either striping or mirroring, but it'll take the exact same amount of time to do it. Correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
I
No?
think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we know that we're making an identical copy, we're losing half, right? In RAID 5, we learned that we have an nth copy. What does that mean? Minimum of 3 drives. In this case, we were trying to put apples to apples. So I went and bought myself got myself RAID 5 and I got myself 4 drives. Would you agree now with Natalia, I believe was the one that just mentioned, that if instead of making an identical copy where I'm losing half, now I'm only losing a quarter of the space, which means I'm only making technically a quarter of the backup while I'm writing. Therefore, who would be faster? The guy that's making a backup of half of the data or a guy that's just making a backup of a quarter of the data?
A quarter.
So now that we understand, hopefully, the logic of the differences on the speed, in that case, I would strongly recommend RAID 5 for this person that's going to be doing high-end uh, pumping through there, right? Usually a second monitor is required. Now, as for your her home server PC itself is more in reference to computing devices in a home environment to a central PC, depending what you want. There's 3 things that usually people want. Sorry, excuse me. Some people usually only want to maybe print sharing or file sharing. Some people actually save all of their videos onto a home PC or obviously stream off of that PC to the rest of the PCs. But those would be your 3 basically home server PCs. Questions, doubts so far on a home server PC and their use? All right. Over here, you have your other ones for requirements for it. Usually is a CPU and RAM. It's important. Another thing, since you are going to be pumping data in and out, if people are going to come and stream off of this, you need a Giga Ethernet NIC card, not just a normal 10 by 100. And you need hopefully redundancy if it is critical. You want 2 cards if it is critical. If it's not critical and you can care less, then obviously don't get the dual. You can accept failure. Questions, doubts? CPU, RAM, because people are going to be pounding it for information. Do I need a high-end graphic card because I'm streaming all this video?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Am I displaying the video?
Well, the manager would display it.
You're just
This is a
backing it up,
home
right?
server. This is a home server PC, right? Which we're saying that there's going to be a bunch of PCs connecting, or my TV connecting to this, or something else going to connect to this and receive the data, just like Netflix. Does Netflix have a high-end graphics card on their
No.
end?
No.
That got your eyes open, right? No, this home server PC would not have a high-end graphics card. You're not expecting people, but it will be pumping CPU and RAM power. And since people are going to be asking for a lot of information, you can't get the regular Ethernet. You need to make sure it's a Giga Ethernet NIC. Giga means 1,000. Instead of the 10100 auto sensing, you need a 1,000 megabyte port. And if you want redundancy, if it is critical, then you would recommend 2 or more identical hard drives for RAID. Sorry, 3 or more. I'm not sure why they said 2 or
But
more.
so,
That's
so
actually
where
3.
would,
Redundancy, so they're recommending 2. because
Actually,
it's not
yeah,
really-
2 because then they're probably thinking maybe a mirror, yeah, because the
Right.
performance is not. I don't know. I would recommend still RAID 5 or right.
Well, I mean, at a bare minimum requirement, because I operate off of a RAID
Yeah, yes, you're right.
because
1, yeah.
I don't need to worry.
Yeah, you're right. Because all I have to do is just pull from there. I'm not really writing. I'm only really reading at that time. I would have to agree with you. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So that would be why. That makes sense. Does that make sense for everyone? For redundancy, if they want redundancy, it could be RAID 1. You could go with RAID 5, but you don't really need it because you're not going to be reading and writing and pounding that drive. You're most likely going to be just, sending. You're going to be reading information and sending it out, which requires a lot of CPU and RAM. Questions, doubts? All right. Next is your home theater PC, not to be confused with your home server PC. Here, this puppy obviously is used to watch movies. There goes the little screen that I told you. You might have a projector that's in the back screen or here on the front. You have surround sound, so you need obviously sound. You might even have a stereo receiver or a TV tuner on this puppy, depending on the requirements of the actual home theater PC. It will obviously be preferred that it has the gigabit in case if you're streaming from other places and you don't have it in it itself. And a lot of the times, even if you don't, you may be actually broadcasting to it. Therefore, you will require that fast, I'm not sure what it says, SEEP, fast NIC card. That's the gigabit preferred. Questions or doubts? All right. Your gaming PC, the one that everyone likes.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for that server, let's say you had that server PC, you might want to still have like a home theater PC to play back the video.
Not
Uh,
necessarily.
And then you would need the high-end video card for that.
That
Probably.
wouldn't be a home. That would be a mixed server. That's mixing. That's like making a fruit salad. A
Okay.
server that would be a non-dedicated server at that time. There's dedicated servers and there's a non-dedicated server. In this case, they're talking about a dedicated server for a home server PC. So you're dedicating its use for this only. A non-dedicated server, which is a hybrid server that has multiple things, then yes, you would have to look at all of the requirements of those different types of servers and put a spaghetti or a fruit salad uh, server of what you require. So in this case, they're talking about dedicated servers, dedicated only for one use in this slide. The same thing here. This home theater PC. This is a dedicated PC for this only.
Okay. Thank you.
Next is your gaming PC, which is obviously used by gamers. What you're going to be using is obviously the latest and greatest, fastest multi-core processors. There's much RAM that your actual motherboard can take or OS, depending on the one that hopefully you have a 64-bit operating system and your motherboard takes the most high-end video card, high-end sound, and cooling capability must be a big requirement. Make sure we have this puppy fully vented with all the fans everywhere. Be it is that some of us just have fans, some of them may have liquid cooling or some other. Another example you'll see here is, as I stated, no longer do you see all those ugly colors. So here you won't see the red, you won't see the purple, you won't see the yellow. You're not going to see any of those colors for the power. You're only going to see a black wrap cable. Usually they come and they connect to the PSU to a special jack in the back, and then they come over here. So that is another reason that they'll make sure that it is the exact shape If you remember, the P1 has different shapes, so there's no way you can put it the wrong way. Questions, doubts? All right, your gaming example PCs, you have your low end ones, so be careful. Usually your low end ones are several years old, or they'll even mess with you and they'll throw and say that it is the latest and greatest, yada yada yada. They'll make them look exactly the same. But somebody said the other day when I mentioned, look at that. Oh, guys, you see this? Is somebody seeing that? Anybody want to buy this instead of that 3080? Who was it, Benjamin? Hey,
Nope.
Benjamin,
No
look, go buy
thanks.
yourself this PC right
I
here.
don't
Look at
want an
this. Hello,
RX
this PC.
580. That's a downgrade.
That's pretty much robbery right there.
That's what I'm saying. You got to be careful when you see these things. Now that we're all educated in reference to these things and we're looking at these numbers, we're paying attention. And none of these are a very good deal. These are obviously horrible examples. God only knows how old this picture is. But I don't think any of us would agree to buy for $2,000 a 1080. Would you buy that?
Don't forget TI though.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, TI. Yeah, there we go. TI. They threw the TI into it just to even make it more fancy. Either which way, we all by now know that at least I think is it 40 something? Is it 3080? No, 3080 was the last one, right? That just came out. 3080.
Yes,
Yeah, because I was
38
all
is most
upset.
current.
I was all happy. I had the 2070, and now they came out with the 30. Either which way, these puppies have their own integrated fans. They have their own memory. They have their own CPU. They have everything integrated. And then you can see, depending on which model you select, you have the different ports. As we can see now in a chart, we can see that the actual different types. We have the workstations here for your graphics, call AutoCAD or CAM. You usually want the video, your RAM, and your storage. Audio and processor is not a big must because of the fact that this guy's only really drawing. He needs a lot of RAM and video. That is the big difference between the guy that's editing. Questions, doubts? The video editing, you'll see here they got the video, not so much about the RAM, but they want the storage and the audio.
Just a hint, they like custom configurations and they will give you scenarios.
Yes. Yes, they will. That's why I want to make sure we look at this. We should hopefully be also putting the Nearpod code out there. These little check marks are the answers to the little test. Gaming, video, storage, audio. Why not so much on the RAM? That's why everybody gets thrown on this one. Everybody wants RAM for a gaming computer. Why don't I care about RAM in a gaming computer? It was in the previous slide.
Dan,
Why don't
Matt,
I
jump on this, man?
come on, man? The 3080, Pops. Why wouldn't I care that the computer doesn't have RAM?
Because your GPU already has RAM in it. It's
You
got the
darn
VRAM.
Yeah,
And it's high.
That's it. So that's why you don't need to waste your money on the RAM on the motherboard. So it doesn't have to have a lot of RAM on the motherboard. Since you're doing it on the gaming card, it can care less about extra. We're thinking about here, once again, dedicated machines for dedicated things. So they want to make sure you understand what it really needs because since this high-end video graphics card, which is going to cost you about $2,000 anyways, you best bet it gotta have the latest and greatest RAM in there. Your thick client, your thin client, it doesn't matter. It's gotta have a processor. This was when somebody asked me once, why doesn't it need a processor? I mean, it does have a processor, but it doesn't require the high end. It's not a must of maximum on that. That's what they mean by this check mark. I need Pepe Tolete, the latest and greatest in this. In the thick and the thin client, whatever the requirements of the actual application, whatever that is, that's all I need. I don't need all the bells and whistles. And then a NAS, which is a network attached storage device, that needs storage, obviously. The more storage, the more terabytes, the better. As for your NAS, as we just alluded to, that puppy looks like this. Doesn't usually have any monitors. You can usually connect to it with ease over the network, and configure this puppy to the correct network. And it allows you to then benefit from media streaming and file sharing. This obviously alleviates from you dedicating yourself again to that server that we said over there. It will replace that one. It is a cheap replacement and it will do its job. I need a question about a NAS. Network attached storage. All right, looks like a little battery. So hopefully by this point, we should be able to describe the different custom configuration to meet the common client needs overall, describe the features, characteristics described, and in any given scenario, hopefully with those little check marks, we should be able to determine exactly what they need. So depending on their needs, we need to ensure that they meet the CPU enhancements that they need or requirements, or video, the maximum RAM if they need it, specialized audio, specialized drive if it requires RAID, or enhanced cooling, even the type of chassis, TV tuner, right? And application specifications that they need, because what do they mean by that? That was why I kept on saying AutoCAD. I kept on saying AutoCAD. Why? Because if they asked you for that, you either need Adobe or AutoCAD, because to do the job that they're asking you for, that type of PC requires either Adobe Photoshop or AutoCAD to do their job. Some of them use Visio at the same time, but those main two competitors for that type of thing would be them. Any questions or concerns? Stopping the recording here if there's no other questions or concerns.